Hi everyone, I'm here in my hometown, Brasilia, in Brazil, and I was thinking about all the hierarchies that people create around nutrients and wanted to chat about it. So let's go on a walk. But this one is going to be a little bit longer because it's a little bit of a journey to get to our destination today. That culture has taken turns in creating a narrative of fear around certain nutrients. I feel like in the 90s, the nutrient to blame for most disease was fat, saturated fats especially, and we went through the trans fat and all that, and with it came a surge of low fat, no fat products that we see in the shelves even to this day. And we can spend some time talking about fat a little bit more, but the topic that I wanted to discuss today, it's actually carbohydrates, because I feel like carbs are being blamed for everything nowadays, talking about as if it's something that's addictive. And carbohydrates have a lot of really important functions for the body. And I thought that we could talk about it a little more during this walk. So for today's episode of Food for Thought, we're gonna take an alternative route and we're gonna need some special gear. So let's get into it. Why are carbohydrates important? The first thing that comes to mind is the brain. The human brain has a really strong preference for glucose as a source of fuel. It can use other things in prolonged starvation, but for you to have an idea, an adult needs about 120 grams of carbohydrates each day just for their brain. Now that we got to our mode of transportation for today, I wanted to talk about the second reason why carbohydrates are very important. Whenever people are trying to increase their muscle mass and exercise and all of that, there tends to be a really high focus on protein, and carbohydrates actually have a protein sparing effect. So as you consume an adequate amount of carbs, you allow the protein to be used the way it's intended to. Because if you're restricting carbohydrates too much, your body's having to convert protein into glucose to stabilize blood sugar. So it kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. Well, I capsized. Let's try this again. The third point I wanted to bring about is the fact that carbohydrate also is paramount when it comes to exercise performance. You know, not only in a protein sparing way, but the way that our body stores energy is through glycogen that we can store in the liver and in the muscle tissue. And this is actually something that athletes can do, sometimes called carb loading, that they will eat extra amounts of carbs before competition. So their storage of carbohydrate is top notch when it comes to the day of the competition. And that brings me to the fourth reason why carbohydrates are super efficient when it comes to producing energy. They are more efficient than fat when it comes to energy production. That's why they are such an important source of energy when it comes to intense exercise, aerobic exercise. That's where the body's getting the most energy from. So if you're trying to restrict a lot of carbs, your exercise performance is going to be poor. And if you're trying to build muscle, for example, without carbs, you're kind of taking away from the thing that you're trying to build, you know, because the body's going to have to use protein, because protein is the only macronutrient that can be converted to glucose. Fat cannot. Some other things that come to mind when it comes to carbohydrates is the sources that we have, you know, the whole grains, the fruits. They not only serve as a source of carbohydrate, they serve as a source of fiber. They serve as a source of antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals. So by trying to be very restrictive, we'd be missing out on a lot of really good stuff. So fiber actually really helps with digestion. Fiber adds bulk to the stools and helps trap moisture in it, so it makes it smoother, easier to go. It helps regulate blood sugar because it changes the speed in which we absorb the carbohydrates, so it slows down absorption a little bit, makes it for a more stable, less abrupt, glucose curve. And there are some fibers as well that feed the good bacteria in our gut, so they work as prebiotics. And it's something that I actually feel like a lot of people don't get. I would go on a whim and say that most Americans are probably not meeting their fiber recommendations on a daily basis. So this whole rhetoric that I see on social media of cutting out fruits and vegetables, I'm like, come on, we'd be missing out on so much if we actually did that. We're almost to our destination, and I can't wait to show it to you guys. So before we finish today's video, let's take a look at our destination. This beautiful bridge is called the JK Bridge, Ponte JK, and it's one of the big postcards here in Brasília, Brazil. It crosses over the lake that we have in the middle of the city, and I think it's so pretty. Isn't it beautiful over here? So why did I bring all of this up? I think that we desperately need to get to a point of neutrality around food, because at the end of the day, food is just food. The quantities, the general balance, the general composition of your meals and your days and all those things is a lot more important than one particular food or one particular meal. No one food or one meal can really make you gain weight or lose weight or make that big of an impact in your life. And I think that one thing that is so unfortunate is that we carry so much guilt and so much shame around what we eat that it makes it harder to enjoy food. It makes it harder for you to enjoy food as the necessity that it actually is. And we have to spend so much time thinking about all the implications and the societal norms and things like that. And the biggest point here to me is really the behaviors that kind of come with it, because the more that you are restrictive around carbs, they are needed. Your body craves them, so it makes you engage in behaviors that can feel self-destructive, like binge, overeating and things like that. So I'll probably talk a little bit more about the other nutrients, but I really wanted to give carbohydrates its flowers because it's a nutrient that has been so scrutinized. Thank you so much for joining me on this walk/paddling session, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.